Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Inquisition with berserker4apothcaries. Myself and Penge, once we get everybody in, we'll be rocking and rolling. If you don't know, apothecary for berserker for apothecaries even is the house husband of the real housewife of the Underhive, who's joined us. Alright Brooke, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Alright Warpy, how you doing mate? Hope you're all well. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Wednesday. It's absolutely scorchio over here in Ireland today. It's like 20 odd degrees. Wife's loving it. I'm hating it. It's good. So how have we all been this week? Been up to anything exciting? Anything illegal or risky? Alright, apothecary, just send us a wee invite, mate, and we'll let you get in. That's what she said. Issues, and we'll see how late Penge is. Berserker, I hope you've updated your Instagram app because sometimes Instagram can be a bit funny. How you doing, pal?
Hey man, how's it going?
Not bad, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks for joining us tonight. We're just going to wait and Penge. Have you had a
Yeah,
good week so far?
I can't complain too much.
But you can, but you don't want to because Brooke's near you in case she comes in and does you in with
Yeah,
a
she's downstairs with the little one. She's
Oh,
discovered bad dreams, so now she has to sleep with mom and dad every
no.
night.
You need that. You need to nip that in the bud. You know what I mean? My mum stopped letting me sleep in her bed when I was like 25, so you need to nip
that's
it in the bud as soon as you can.
that's brutal.
How's the weather over in Qatar today? Has it been scorchio?
It's all right. It's starting to cool down. The summer basically is starting to break, which is nice because obviously in the summer it's high 40s, even up into 50 sometime. But it's getting down to the low 40s now during the day, so it's a lot better.
So you must be used to the heat being like stateside. Are you used to that sort of heat, or are you more of a northern territory sort of guy?
No, so I was kind of a California guy. So basically, it was 25 to 35 all year long, which was nice. So coming out to the 40s in the summer is pretty brutal, but yeah, you just kind of adapt, stay inside. There's air con everywhere, so we make the most of it.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. Do you know what I mean? So might as well just jump into it because Casey could be 5 minutes, it could be 4 hours. We just don't know. It's Casey. Casey's an entity to himself.
No
Again,
worries,
thanks for
no
joining.
worries.
No worries,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. So, first question we ask everybody is, what age were you when you got into Warhammer, and what was the first mini that you painted?
Oh man, so I started in '98, so I would have been, I guess, 9 years old. And the first mini I painted. So the first mini I bought was the old Stormtroopers with the berets and the Alice packs. I didn't know what an Alice pack was at the time, but I came to find out later, and I hate those things. But I don't know for a fact that I ever painted one of those guys completely. So the first mini I remember painting was when they first released the Falcon Grav tank, and I painted up one of those.
And what got you into it? Like, because it's, I mean, obviously Warhammer's pretty much a UK based thing. How did you find out about it over in Cali?
Well, so actually, I was living in Denmark at the time. So my dad was in the service, and we were living in Viborg, which is central in Jutland in Denmark. And my brother and some of his friends got into it, and fantasy was a lot bigger at the time there. But my brother was really into Space Marines, and so he brought home a box of Space Marines, and I was kind of like, "Oh, what's that?" And I was not allowed to buy Space Marines. That was just my brother's thing. Was he wouldn't? And he's 5 years older than me, and so, just looking at the stuff, and I don't know, when I was little, I wanted to be like my brother. So that was kind of what got me into it. And ever since, just been kind of in and out of the hobby off and on, and then going from there.
So you went out to get Space Marines. So what did you end up collecting then? Was it just his hand me downs, or did your folks get you your own?
So I kind of an odd mix of things. So when third edition came out and we got that box, I had the Dark Eldar, and my brother got the Space Marines. But so I had kind of Eldar and Dark Eldar going early on, but the first full army that I ever had that I fully painted was a Tau army. So when Tau was released in, I guess, 2005, I don't actually remember when Tau came out, but that was my first 2000 point ready to go on a table painted army.
And who is the better player out of yourself and your brother? Who would win the most?
Uh, to be honest, I don't actually remember playing with him much as a kid. I was 5 years younger than him, so he didn't really want to hang out with me all that much. um, I think though in recent history we've probably played 3 or 4 games, and I think it's usually pretty even. He plays ultra. I mean, he's been playing Ultramarines for 30 years now, and Ultramarine allies and different things like that. So across all the game systems,
So your brother still paints away then as well?
he does.
That's
Yep.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
he's in LA. So when I was living in Cali before we moved out here to Qatar, we actually played a lot. Well, not a lot, but a fair amount out there. All sorts of different game systems. We played Dystopian Wars. We played Adeptus Titanicus, Heresy, a little bit of 40K, different things like that.
And so, like, obviously, you started when you were 9. Did you have much of a gap? Like, a lot of people kind of find, like, drinking girls at 16, 17, and then come back to the hobby. Did that happen with yourself?
No, so my best friend in high school was actually into the hobby as well. So most days after school, we would walk back to his house and hang out in his basement and play. I remember to this day when the Wood Elves came out, I had Wood Elves and he had Bretonians, and I had a bunch of Wood Elves in a tower, and we either didn't know or there weren't rules for it at the time, and so we had Bretonians a lance charge a tower, and the rules we made up in our mind, he could knock over the tower and then kill all my archers. So I continued to play a little bit through high school. I even remember at one point, my senior year of high school, one of the local Warhammer shops basically was trying to hire a part-time worker, and I wanted to get a job there, but my mom said I needed to focus on school, so I wasn't allowed to get the job.
So, see, just moving on to, like, paints. If you had it 7 minutes late, folks, you're in for €1,000 each if you put 7 minutes. Paint has finally arrived. Uh,
I love it.
so, do you still use Citadel paints, or have you, like, transgressed into other types of paint brands? What would you use this now when you're painting?
So until very recently, I was a Citadel exclusive guy, and then I went to No Retreat this year with SN and got some Army Painter paints there, and came back. And with Brooke, we've really diversified kind of across things. So we've got Vallejo and Army Painter and Citadel in the house now, and in our little paint area. Um, so I use a little bit of everything, and then trying to getting more plugged in with the community and getting tips and everything from everybody. So I'm down to try anything, but probably prior to 4 months ago, it was almost exclusively Citadel paints.
Yeah, I think everybody does that. It's like this. It's like everybody starts off with Citadel, and then you go into a hobby shop, and it's like got maybe Vallejo or Green Stuff World, and you go, "Oh, I've not seen that color before. I like that, the vibrancy of that color." Would you go for vibrant colors yourself, or are you more of a kind of pastel type person?
Uh, I'm whatever I can do to paint fast person. So for me personally, the side of the hobby that I really enjoy more is really the playing, and even kind of broaching into getting some armies commissioned over the past couple of years as I have gotten old enough to be able to afford that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, so when contrast and speed paints, and I've even done my Tyranid army is all using Army Painter Quick Shade. Uh, so whatever it is that I can get 3 colors and on the table as quickly as possible has been kind of the name of the game for me.
And aside from paints, what would be your preferred? Do you have a preferred brush brand? Because I mean, everybody's on about paints, but the brushes are just important now. Is there any particular brand that you would lean towards?
So historically, I've mostly used Army Painter brushes. And then recently, again, just mostly by virtue of the friends I made at No Retreat and making connections, branching into getting kind of higher end brushes. I've got some Kolinsky brushes from Den of Imagination here right now that I bought from them. And then looking at maybe getting some Artist Opa brushes here in the not too distant future. The biggest problem for us in Qatar is just getting stuff shipped out here. I was trying to get one of my buddies mentioned a brush company out of London, and I was going to order basically 3 brushes from them for it was like 30 pounds, but then shipping them to Qatar was going to be 60 pounds. So I decided that that was not in my best interest.
No, that doesn't sound good at all. But did you know, we'll segue into here, that we've got a sponsor ourselves of Orange Brushes, who have recently joined on board, where if you go onto their website through their Instagram page, enter the code Inquisition, you get yourself a nice 10% off. I don't think that'll be 10% off the 60 quid shipping, so apologies about that. But also, if you did fancy, I am running a contest where all you've got to do is like one of my posts, and maybe you might win some. So, and I'll tell you what, if I have to ship it out to a different country, I'll mark it as a gift, so then no one has to pay the shipping charges or anything like that. I've done it. See, I know what I'm doing.
That'd be a huge win.
There you go. So, apologies that I was 7 minutes late. I think that's the latest I've been for a while, Dunk, isn't it?
That's quite early for you.
Yeah. There was problems with upstairs with a TV, so I had to sort that out, and I apologise. So, right, we've heard those little bits there. When we had your other half on, she obviously led us into stories about how you two got together and stuff and all the likes of it. But how, it's always something that we ask, I think, our guests, of how early did you sort of first show the minis to your other half and sort of say, oh, by the way, I do this? Was it a case of she stumbled across them one day and was like, oh, what the fuck? Or was it a case of you actually whipped one out and were like, check this out?
I mean, so the apartment I was living in at the time when we met, I don't think you could really walk into that apartment and not see my huge like paint desk, and I had the IKEA display case with everything in there. So I think the second she walked into that apartment, she knew, or she saw it. Now, whether or not she had any idea what it was or not, I couldn't tell you. But I think probably fairly quickly, within, I don't know, a week or two, she probably asked the question, oh, what is this? And kind of explained some of it to her. At the time, I had just gotten into dystopian wars. So I was painting up a massive fleet of British steampunk aircraft carriers and cruisers. So my whole desk was just tiny little warships.
So that's got to be quite an interesting gap, because I mean, to have them out on display is quite a bold power play move. Because for me, I'll be honest, they were hid under a bed for a long time, and then it was when we first moved in and they came with me. She was like, "Hang on, what the hell is this stuff?" I was like, "Ugh."
It's big dick energy. Let's be honest here. You're like, you know what? Seal the deal. This is who I am. Take me how you want me, and this is me.
Straight away. Well,
Yeah. Not when we.
I think that's how it is, right? You put it all out there, and if you want to come along for the ride, let's do this. If not, like, cool, carry on. You know.
If you don't deserve me with my plastic minis, you don't deserve me without them. That's what you're saying.
Exactly right. Exactly.
It's that Marilyn Monroe energy, but in reverse.
You know, something like that. I got resin, I got plastic. There's even some metal ones over there. You know, take your pick.
And obviously, I came in a bit late there and heard you talking about, you know, growing up, stores near you, getting a job in the store. Well, not, as your mum was saying, sorry. How's it been sort of progressing, like, from having a hobby almost at your fingertips to all of a sudden being in a country where it's not so accessible? Like you say, the shipping costs are like nearly 75% of what you're paying for the stuff. It's got to be quite a bit of a curve almost.
Yeah. So when we first moved to Qatar, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm just going to put most of my hobby stuff in storage. I gave all my paints away to my best friend from high school. I had 2 3D printers in California that I gave to a neighbor. You know, I was just like, I know while we're in Qatar, like, the hobby is just not going to be as accessible. And so I brought, I had plans after 1 year here to go to LVO with my brother. And so I basically brought one Horus Heresy army out here in hopes that I would be able to get some games and practice. And I left all my paints, all my hobby supplies and everything else behind. And so I got out here and I spent basically 6 months kind of on just random Google searches, seeing if anybody was available to play. I never found a game. And then I happened upon the Necromunda group that we got. involved with, and I found one guy. I played 2 games of 40K with him using my 30K army, and it's Alpha Legion is the one I brought with me. Sorry, answering the question there.
That's fun.
And so and then my Alpha Legion army was actually in a weird sort of way. Well, maybe not weird. It was a gift from my wife for my daughter's birthday. So it was a commissioned army that I got, and so I just because I don't know, she got jewelry and I got minis, which was awesome, right? So I took that army. I played a couple 40K games with it out here, but no heresy. And I took it to LVO and played, the LVO games with it, and then came back and then got involved with the Necromunda, and a couple of the guys in the Necromunda group were interested in trying heresy. And then my brother actually saw the post about No Retreat, and because my army was a commissioned army and kind of meets their standard, I applied to go to that, and actually was able to get in for the last No Retreat, and it was just an absolutely phenomenal experience. Brooke went out with me to that, and just the people we met, and just the hobby boner basically that kind of gives you from hanging out with all the people that were there, has really inspired us, and we've been trying to find ways to get more hobby supplies and other things out here and play more. And through the summer, a lot of our friends here who play are school teachers or university professors from the UK, and so they have a lot more time off in the summer. So I think at some point in the summer I was playing like 2 to 3 games of heresy a week, and one of our buddies went home to Scotland for a week and brought back a Mechanicum army, and then another buddy started an Emperor's Children army. And so I've sort of inspired a little heresy group here in Qatar, and then we have the Necromunda side as well. So it's from when we first came here, really not preparing for or bringing anything, to where we are now. It's grown. I mean, it's funny. So we brought an airbrush, or bought an airbrush from Element Games, and had that shipped to a buddy in England who was home on holiday, and then shipped an air compressor to another buddy who was home on holiday. And they, you just find guys who are traveling wherever and have them bring stuff back to Qatar for you, and we do the same thing.
Does it ever feel like you're kind of Breaking Bad a bit with it, or you're just sneaking bits in there, here, there, everywhere?
Absolutely. I had to, the guy, when we wanted to get the airbrush compressor back to Qatar, I sent it to the buddy, and he was like, dude, is this legal? Can I take this on an airplane? And I had to look up the, airline regulations and everything, and show him where it's it's never been plugged in. So there's no compressed air in it. There's no issues with it. It can go in the hold. There's no legal, and he's worried he's going to get hemmed up by immigration trying to, smuggle an air compressor into the country for us. But it all worked out.
Don't come after him, Qatari Customs. We're not on a we're not on anything iffy. I've been rambling away. Dunk, take over.
So what you said you were into the Horus Heresy, and it was Alpha Legion. What attracted you to the Alpha Legion?
Oh man, what doesn't attract somebody to the Alpha Legion, right? So I read a couple of the heresy books, and just so when I was first starting, I was really, really torn between Alpha Legion and Blood Angels. Those are kind of the two that I just liked the most. And then, oddly enough, my Alpha Legion army, if you've ever seen the pictures of it, is painted up in a kind of mixed camouflage Blood Angel Alpha Legion. And I was like, oh, well, with Alpha Legion, I can have both. And just the idea of they're the only Legion where the Primarch is neither loyalist nor traitor according to the rules. You can run Alpharius as loyal or traitor. They've got their own agenda, and just everything with the lore of them, and being kind of the sneaky, run them however you want. You can take anybody else's toys and use them. Side of them is just really fun.
Yeah, some of the books with the Alpha Legion are in, especially the first few books when you get the Estevan Dropsite Massacre and they start eating Raven Guard and then becoming Raven Guard, and it's all that sneakiness to just infiltrate people. I mean, I love the Alpha Legion as well, and I was planning at some point to get the tattoo where obviously in the books it says people who are associates get tattoos so they know that they're Alpha Legion. So I'm tempted to get that done once I've got my Death Guard tattoos done. So
I told Brooke I was going to get an Alpha Legion tattoo, and she said I wasn't allowed because I already have a Warhammer tattoo.
Oh, you wanted. Brooke can do. Brooke will do what she's told. Just go and get it. I mean, what's she going to do if you just go and get it and come back? Not as if she's going to leave you over the sake of a tattoo.
I mean,
If she's stuck with you with your word always, she's going to stick with you being an agent of Alfarius. Let's be honest
Well, just get it somewhere she won't see it. Like, stick it on the bottom of your foot, like Toy Story and Andy or something.
right? Yeah, you just got to stick it somewhere hidden, like between a toe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on your deathbed, go, by the way, look between my toes. And then
I'll be dead in minutes, but check out the bottom of my big toe.
Yeah.
It just says, I am Alfarius.
I always wondered why you wore socks to the beach and never take your socks off.
Yeah, right?
So
you laugh. I was just on that before you move on, Dunk. The father-in-law was out in Amsterdam and got absolutely smashed. Didn't realise what he'd done, and when he came back, he sort of looked at my partner, and he did that to her, and he had the Rihanna moustache thing on the inside of his finger. He did that, like a joke, not realising what he'd done. He was like, until a couple of days later, and then he's like, "Don't tell your mum." So she's run off and straight away, "Mum!" So yeah, don't get it anywhere obvious, and you're fine.
do you have many tattoos yourself then?
Oh man, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I have 6 tattoos, 6 or 7.
And do you get them out
The
in
Warhammer
Qatar,
one.
or do you get them back home?
So it's actually illegal to get them in Qatar. There's no legal tattoo artists here. So all of mine, I got almost all. I got one in London, I got one in Tanzania, and then the rest of them I got in the US.
Essentially, I never knew they were illegal in Qatar. That's interesting.
That is interesting. Honestly, I'm bringing this air compressor. It's for my minis, not for tattoos. We've heard that before. In the back of the wagon you go. So obviously, you said earlier on that you're a military child, and obviously you went into the military yourself. Did you feel under pressure to go into the military, or was it just a natural thing that you wanted to do?
It was just natural for me. I never felt pressure to do it, but I don't know, maybe it was like my mom never said, "Hey, you should do it." But I think to some extent, every little boy, especially when you grow up around that, it seems cool. And I just never grew out of that phase, you know?
And what did your dad do in the military? Was he like a grunt, or was he high?
He flew at force.
And when you went to join up, because I used to be in the military, if you don't know, and people say, would you ever let your children join the military? And I'll say, yeah, I would, but I would always tell them to not join the infantry, get them to join like something with a trade, because if you join the infantry, like it's one of the worst jobs. You're first in, last out. So did your father have that conversation with you, that he gave you a blessing, but he wanted you to do something specific?
No, my dad was always, I guess, really just kind of supportive of. Now, that being said, I never went to my dad and told him I wanted to join the infantry. So if I had told him that, I don't know what he would have said. That being said, I did tell him I wanted to join the Marine Corps, and he made me go talk to a couple Marines before I did it, but he didn't tell me I shouldn't do it. Yeah.
And how long did you do military service?
I was a Marine for 11 years.
And was there many Warhammer Marines, or was there like a small community of you, or was that just kind of yourself and that was your only hobby?
There was a handful. I had some buddies who I played with at the time. Well, I say at the time, for I guess probably 6 years of it. War Machine and Hordes was a lot more popular in most of the places I was. So I played was it Legion of Everblight? I had Thagrosh and 2 giant dragons and some other little minions was my kind of go-to War Machine and Hordes army. And then I think at the time I was also playing Eldar and 40K. It was kind of before I really got into Heresy. And And then, yeah. But there was you know, for better or worse, in the U.S. at least, every base has Warhammer stores because GIs go to Europe and learn about Warhammer and come home and want to play. So there's always a decent community around any of the bases.
Yeah, because we've had a couple of British servicemen who were serving and are still serving, and they're saying it's like a growing wee thing now. I think it was what Cookie had said that he's setting up something called Rhino Hammer, and they've also had like US versus UK battles, which is pretty awesome, I suppose. But, Casey,
I think
Yeah.
we rather than the Riders Cup, you know, nobody cares about golf. We'll just get rid of the Riders Cup and we'll do Americans versus Europeans Warhammer battle tournament. That sounds good to me.
There you go. That's actually a good question there from Rich in the chat. So obviously, given your military background, when you're actually sitting there playing a tabletop war game, does any of what you've learned, can you actually translate it onto the tabletop?
I try to. Some of it, sometimes it does. It's so funny. This last Necromunda campaign we just played, I was playing Palatine Enforcers, and I just had like basically 10 cops with bolt guns, right? And every game without fail, my opponent would like split up his force, and I'd be like, okay, cool, I'll split up my force to kind of fight you, and then I'd get just charged and massacred by these Escher ladies who would like single out cops. And at the end of every game, I talked to my buddy Tom. I'd be like, dude, again, I forgot about like concentrating my forces and staying together and having, you know, supporting firing positions and all these things. And I'm not even joking. Like for 6 weeks, once a week, I would have this conversation with Tom, and he'd be like, well, you remember it next week. And then I absolutely did not remember it the next week.
And obviously, I know any sort of tabletop game, dice is the other deciding factor, really, isn't it? You can do the best as you want, have the best of intentions, but if those dice don't back you up with 6s and 5s, it don't really matter, does it?
No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. And I mean, but that's the fun of it, right? Like, it's funny because we have conversations just in kind of the small groups I'm in about like, is it a game or is it a battlefield simulation, right? And I think it's trying to be both, but at some point, right, like you have to accept that we suspend some realism in the name of the game so that we don't have to overcomplicate various aspects of the game, you know?
Yeah, you are right. You know, if you've done that in your past, you're not going to want to just sort of go back into that line of thinking and start applying it to something that's meant to be fun, I suppose, isn't it? You know, you don't want to go too over the top with it.
I think it's a nice balance.
Sorry, on your own.
No, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, like, when I play Fortnite or I play Call of Duty Black Ops, I'm a sucker for people sticking together and not just going pure ramble on it. I'm like, stick together. We need to stick together. Like, and they go, why? And then we're absolutely destroyed. Like, you're disappearing away up there. We've got another guy over there, and like we're getting absolutely massacred because we don't stick together. We need mutual support. And that was in the military like 20 odd years ago. So that still sticks with me, that whole stick together.
Yeah, you got to have your battle buddy. It's funny, been playing, you know, a bunch of Space Marine 2 this week, and I cannot tell you how many times I get in the game and like my 5 teammates just shotgun off to nowhere, you know, and it's like, cool, man, well, you're going to die alone, and 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 then I'm going to be here alone, and I'm going to die. And we just all, you know what I mean? Just like you said, like sticking together, even in silly games like that. But then I constantly remember, like, I have tried to jump with an assault pack on my back holding an M249, and like you can jump about 3 inches into the air, you know, and there's all these guys in COD jumping constantly 6 feet up, you know, and dodging bullets. And like, it's not going to work that way.
It's actually a good little segue into another line of questioning that I was going to do, because I've noticed 1 or 2 people here who've joined us today that have actually played Space Marine 2 within the last couple of days. How have you found it?
I've been a huge fan. I haven't, since my daughter was born, I really haven't played a whole lot of video games, to be honest. And this was the first one that I was like excited about. I'm like, okay, she's going to go to bed. I'm going to stay up and I'm going to play through it. So I beat the campaign, and dude, it's just it's fan service, man. Like even little things like when you're walking in the tunnels and there's like a termite assault drill and you're like, dude, that's a termite assault drill. And like just everything about it like the little details, even like the railings, right? Match the little railings that come in the terrain sets, and just you notice those little things. And as a fan of the hobby and the games, it's been awesome. And then the gameplay is great, you know. So I played a little bit of the PvP, and like I said, most of the time I end up on teams with guys who just want to shotgun off into various places and die alone. But the PvE, I've been playing with a couple of different guys that I've met in various places, and it's fun to just drop in with 3 of your buddies and just slaughter termagants, you know? Like, what more do you want in life than that from a game?
And there in the chat is Bones as well. But I played co-op with him the other night, and I think it was just walking out into that hive world for the first time. You know, it was great seeing the jungles and stuff, but then when you actually see the scale of it all, it does sort of take your breath away for that split second. It's like, it's almost real, but and it's stunning. Did you play this?
Like the go ahead. Sorry.
No, go on. You're all right. You're all right. Go on.
I was just gonna say, even like I guess the more or less the last level, right? When Calgar shows up and you have all these ultramarines, and it's just like this rallying cry, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is everything I wanted to see in this game, you know, and it's just so good.
I think Bones actually pointed it out to me as well, because there was the bit on the level we played where Layman Russ popped up, and you're looking at it and you're like, I'm a Primaris Space Marine standing next to this, and when you're looking down at a table, you're just like, it's all models, it's all minis, they're toys, cool. But then when you actually see them and they actually proportion everything right, that is actually really well done as well. Because I think there was a bit where you're walking through a level and there's a guy standing on top of a Baneblade giving a speech, and you're just like, is that how big they're meant to be?
Well, and even the aspects of, and I get it with models, it's somewhat difficult, right? But like when you read the lore, you know, Space Marines are 7-8 feet tall, and like, you know, when the Primaris came out with the old Cadians, like it almost was right. And then the new Guardsmen came out and everything's kind of scaled up. But then you're in the game and you're walking by like the formation of Cadians, and you're like, I'm this 9-foot tall Primaris, and look at all these tiny people. And it's funny, I was playing with Welshie yesterday, and I love the fact that when you dodge or combat roll through one of the Chaos Cultists, it just kills them, which is exactly what it should be as a Space Marine, right? Like I don't have to shoot them. I don't have to swing my sword at them. If I just like throw my body weight into this random derp human, he just dies. And like that is what a Space Marine should be. I mean, it's funny to me because like one of my favorite novel series growing up was the Gaunt's Ghost books, right? And in one of the books, I remember there was 3 Space Marines, and literally like 1 million guardsmen. Oh, but wait, there's 3 Space Marines. Like that is the big deal here, is that these 3 Space Marines showed up. And so that in my mind has always been like what it means to be a Space Marine. And so the game, I think, does a really good job with that.
And I just on that as well, it's something I point when I was playing with Bones, we sort of discussed that you're seeing all the little cherubs, you're seeing the servo skulls flying around and stuff, and it's nice that sort of scale that it's put in, because when we get some amazing box art and some amazing, when you're reading Space Marine books, they all sound quality, but for your bang average person, you're living in this trash future of a universe, when this one monster man comes to save the day, you are going to be like, ugh. So you're never going to see 1,000 of them or 100 of them on the field at any one time. So just for one to pop up, it's almost like, oh, and then that's the difference it makes. With your gaming and stuff, and we'll move into like a little bit of other stuff that we do. Yeah. What are the other interests in your life? Obviously, we all share the minis, but what else have you got going
on? So I guess I kind of have like 3 hobbies / big interests. So obviously the gaming side of it, I'm a huge Arsenal fan. So you know, it's been a long time coming. I'm happy where we are right now. Yeah, you guys can hang up on me now if you want.
Why Arsenal? Why Arsenal?
There's so many Arsenal fans that are American, mate. I don't get it.
Why? Is it Kroenke? Is it pages all to support?
No. Well, so it's actually, I don't know, I think it's a funny story, but back in, I guess, 2015, I don't like American football personally at all. Like, it's just, if you watch a game, there's so many commercials. There's just, It's just not my jam, right? But the unit I was with, like all of the other lieutenants and captains were huge American football fans. And so like every morning I'd come into work on Monday morning and they'd be like, oh man, did you see the game? Blah, 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 blah. And so it actually started off as kind of like me wanting to take the piss, because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start watching the Premiership on the weekends. I'm going to pick a team. And then when they ask me if I saw the game, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, dude, like we beat those fuckers 2-1 or whatever, you know? And so I was like, okay, well, I need to pick a team, you know, who's it going to be? And I was driving to my brother's house from San Diego to LA, and there was this huge billboard for the summer, like, friendly matches that they play. And Arsenal was coming over to play a Mexican team, Chivas, Mexico. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll go watch this match and, you know, whatever. And so I got tickets and I went, and it was, like I said, it was 2015. It was basically all the young kids. Like, I think Ozil was there, Wenger was there. And it was awesome. It was so cool, like being in the ground and everything. And so basically I was hooked, and I started, and the cool thing about being in California is like the early kickoff is like 4 a.m, but the late kickoff in England is like 10. And there was this restaurant in San Diego that would serve you a full English breakfast, and you could get a pint at, 8 o'clock in the morning and watch football. And so that was basically what I did, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, was go and have a full English breakfast and get a couple pints and watch the Arsenal. And then basically, again, just got hooked, and so started watching it. And obviously 15, 16, 17 were not the best years to be an Arsenal fan. So, if you decided to be an Arsenal fan during those years, then you're dedicated. And then moved to Qatar and met up with, again, another great group of fans here. One of my best friends from Qatar actually moved back, lives in Nottingham now. And we message all the time about Arsenal. And I went to a match with him 2 years ago. So I've been to the Emirates twice. So I went 2 years ago to the last match of the season and watched us beat Wolves. And then I went last year for the Bayern home game. So that was just kind of got hooked into it that way.
But you've been to Arsenal
Crocky
more
wants to pay me
times
money, I would love to take it. So
you've probably been to Arsenal more than some Arsenal fans I know who have lived in London all their lives. So fair enough.
And also, you joined Arsenal at Prime Arsenal Fan TV when all of them were just prime watching on a Monday. But if you're ever on X, do you ever watch Paddy Power's Fan Denial at all?
I think so.
So they did a throwback Fan Denial, and it was when Stoke got relegated. And basically, a Stoke fan had put up 2 tickets for free to go and watch Stoke versus Arsenal. And unbeknownst to the guy, an Arsenal fan took the tickets and then just ripped the piss. I'll try and tag you in it in X, or I'll send you the link in X.
Send it to me.
It's absolute banging. It's really good.
Probably the perfect bit of trolling ever. It's
the best bit of trolling I've ever seen on Facebook or Instagram or anything.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Arsenal, like you definitely joined at the worst time.
Yeah.
The best time if you weren't an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I assume you guys have teams as well? Clubs you follow, if you will?
Yeah. So for me, it's a name you'll know. It's Crystal Palace for me.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm hoping Nketiah comes good for you guys.
I don't know. You know what? For years, apparently, we've been linked with him, and I've just always been like, if he can't get in the Arsenal team, why? What's the issue? He's looked okay in 2 games, but that's just 2 games, so we do have to see how he does. But I mean, we took Flamini off you. We took some proper Arsenal rejects. Shamak, who I bloody loved Shamak. It was probably just a little bit before your time, but he was going bald at the age of 20, and he was ridiculous. But I loved him. And
he was a good player, but then
he was
Arsenal are getting all the Chelsea rejects. He's a paying Sterling with $200,000 a week. That is mental.
I'll tell you what. I think that Sterling deal is brilliant. Chelsea's paying him £10 million this year to play for us.
Yeah,
I'd take that deal any day of the week. You know what I mean? We're paying him $120,000 a week. Any other striker we'd have gone and got would have cost us more. and there's no obligation, there's no option. So at the end of the season, if he sucks, we just back to Chelsea.
That is
And
a fair point.
and if anybody can get Sterling firing again, I think it's Arteta.
Sterling had one good season at Liverpool, and he's fell up ever since that.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah,
opinion.
that's the 13-14 season when they came second. That was it. That was the best he's been. And that was still when he was quite young. He went to City after that, and you can say he's won leagues with City, he's done all sorts with City, but he's just system, innit? It don't really matter.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's like Foden, right? Like Foden
yeah.
is unbelievable for City, but then in the England squad, like, okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
because
exactly.
as long as they stay shite for England, that's the main thing. I would happily see England get to every final and lose it on penalties after not getting after not getting like a penalty or something themselves. That
Proper Scottish.
As a Scotsman, that is better than sex. When I went over to visit my daughters in St Helens during the Euros in 2021, and we came back before the final, but my son was left with his sisters. He wanted to stay an extra few days, and they went out to the pub to watch the game. And see, when England went 1-0 up, I was like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be like 66 all over again, but I'm going to actually have to live through this for the next 3 weeks on British TV. And then, obviously, Italy went and did the business. So I said to my son, I says, what were the pubs like? He went, Dad, see, after it, they just emptied it. It was like somebody had died. And I was like, yes, excellent.
Yeah, not at
Oh, it's
all.
brutal.
Not at all Scottish, their tongue. Very, 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 very patriotic responses from you, prick.
That's the thing, though.
So right, we've talked football. You said there was 3 hobbies, so we've got Warhammer, we've done football. What's the third one?
Yeah, so the last one, I'm really into watches. I truly think that watches are like one of the last few quality things that people still make, right? Like we're talking, I'm talking to you on a phone right now. I don't know if you guys are on a phone or a computer, right? But they all come with a 2-year warranty, and Apple builds it so that in 2 years you're gonna have to buy a new phone, right? And I just the mechanisms of watches, the engineering and the development and everything that goes into them, and there's an artistry to it, but the craftsmanship, like, I don't know, in my opinion, is one of the few industries that still gives a shit about making something that you can buy, and then when I die, I can give it to my daughter, and then when she dies, she can give it to her kid, and it could, I mean, as long as you take care of it right, it could last forever. So yeah, watches,
That's
horology, if you will,
interesting.
is
So how many
That's really
is my other kind of.
how many watches do you own then?
I currently have probably about 10 watches.
And what sort of ranges are we talking about? Like, obviously, the main one anyone mentions when it's watches is Rolex. Are we going to pure
So I
Rolexes, or
don't.
are we branching out?
No, I don't have any Rolexes. I have a couple Bremonts, which are an English-made company.
Mhm.
I have some Breitlings. I have IWC. I've got a couple Swatches, and other kind of, I guess, entry level, if you will, type stuff. And then a Casio and some other, and a Garmin, for when I want to work out
Yeah,
type thing.
I think
that's it.
I think for me, sorry, I was ready to jump in here, Casey, right?
Okay, sorry.
I think for me, watches were at their prime, like, obviously I'm a wee bit older than both of you. So back in 1993, 1994, I think it was Casio came out with a watch that had a red button. They could turn off the TV. And see in school, oh, the teachers, because the teachers didn't know how to work the TV or the video. And there was like, everybody had a class where somebody who was rich had one of these
Yeah,
watches. And see, watches have never been the same since you could turn off the TV and just watch your English teacher or German teacher lose her mind because the TV keeps switching off. That was
That
a
was
good 2
awesome.
months.
I had a kid with one of those watches.
It's
It's ridiculous.
it's interesting because it's one of those things that I guess also just right, like all of us, our phone keeps better time than basically any watch people can make. If you get a Garmin or something that's linked to GPS and satellites and all that stuff, obviously it keeps a good time. So it's really, I mean, for lack of a better, it's truly a luxury, right, to have kind of a mechanical watch and the craftsmanship and stuff that goes into it. And it's funny being in the aviation side of it. I oftentimes have people like tell me, "Oh man, like what is the best watch?" You know, in the pilot side and all these different things. I'm like, dude, honestly, like the jet tells me what time it is because it talks to a satellite, and that's the time I use when I have to hit a TOT and all these different things. So it really is just kind of a, if you really dig into it, it's just kind of a passion thing and like what you like. And I do like the styling of pilots' watches and the designs that go into them. And that links a lot back to World War II and the different companies that produced watches for the Allies and stuff there. But yeah, like you said, there's so much technology. Like your Apple Watch can do everything now. So really, if you want a watch that's going to do stuff, you should buy an Apple Watch or a Garmin or something. You know, turn off the TV.
Yeah, sorry, Don. It's this. I think this is the first time we've had someone come up with something completely out of left field and sort of take us. I don't know about you, though, but it's sort of taken me completely by surprise. Yeah. It's something that's really it's kind of old school in the sense of, like you say, it's the craftsmanship that goes behind it. It's how they look. It's knowing that all these tiny little gears and sprockets in this little face all come together and turn a hand. You've thrown me off guard here with this one, as you could probably tell. I mean, if I take
it's
this,
really cool.
Yeah, go on.
One of the watches I have is it's called a perpetual calendar, and it's one of the more complicated things you can have, and it's such a cool concept because internal to the watch, right? It has hours, minutes, seconds, all those things that you would expect, and then it also has day and month, right? Which you may be familiar with. Like the watch has a little date, but this watch in particular also has year. And where it gets weird though is when you add a year component, right? Well, we have leap years, and so this watch has a tiny gear in it that has 48. Whatever the thing on a gear is called, right? And so there's 36 of them are set like long, short for 31 days, 30 days, 31 days, 30 days. And then every February is 28 days. But then there's one gear on there that is slightly smaller for leap years. So, and this movement was invented in the 1800s or whatever. And this Swiss guy, was like, oh, well, we'll just have it. And so like the watch knows when it's a leap year, and there's no computer, there's no anything. It literally is this tiny gear. And it's one of the coolest things because on New Year's Eve, when I first bought this watch, I was actually on a plane from London back to Doha, and I like sat there staring at it when I watched like the year click over. It was so cool, and the fact that it knows when the leap year is, and it is purely, like you said, it's purely a mechanical thing with a bunch of gears that rotate. The second hand goes around once every 60 seconds. The minute hand goes around once every 60 minutes. The hour gear goes around, once every 24 hour, the day goes around once every 24 hours, but all the way up to like, there's literally a gear in there that only makes one full revolution every 4 years.
That is pretty. What is it with the Swiss? Watches, chocolate, tennis players, and sailors, even though they're a landlocked country, and bloody neutrality. What's all that about?
And avoiding tax. Don't forget the avoiding tax bit.
Oh yeah.
That's a huge one.
And aggressive when neutral. I found out watching some stupid war documentary. They were aggressive when neutral. So if you flew over, no matter who you were, they shot you down.
Yeah, they didn't care.
They don't mess around with that neutrality.
I think I'm going to take a question that we always ask people, then given their specific hobbies and stuff. I'm going to apply it to watches in that If you could go out there tomorrow and buy any watch in the world, what would it be?
Cool. Any watch in the world? So there's a term in the watch community, if you will. You call it your Grail watch. So like the Holy Grail, right? And everybody's Grail watch is I don't know, it's generally viewed as unattainable type thing. And so for me, my Grail watch is the IWC Sidralis Scafusia. So just to clarify, it's a $1.2 million watch. So like absolutely unrealistic by anyone's standard, right? But this watch has a star chart in it. And so the back of the watch actually has the night sky and you pick when they custom make the watch for you, right? And you say, okay, I want the night sky in Edinburgh. That's where Brooke and I got married, right? So I'd say I want it for Edinburgh. And the star chart on the back of the watch rotates so that it aligns with the night sky you would see in Edinburgh on any given night. And it has that perpetual calendar. So like literally forever, as long as you took care of the watch and made sure it was working, on any given night, you could look at the back of your watch and know what the stars would look like in Edinburgh or wherever it was you picked it.
If you had a choice, right, you had to pick one and you had to sacrifice one, watches or Warhammer?
Ooh.
Proper thinking about this. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. I would probably give up watches just because there's like I get more of a. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I have a good watch community as well, but for me personally, my Warhammer community is bigger, and I have more longer friends from that community.
Yeah.
But I'm really thankful that I don't have to give up either of them.
And what you're also saying is my daughter doesn't need a future if I don't have to pass this down to her, sort of. That's a good one. It's mind blowing because I don't think this is something we've ever discussed. Like we've had people talk cars, we've had people talk motorbikes, all sorts of stuff. So this is just complete left field. And yeah, I think Paint Party Scott in there has described it. So I'll wait till payday kind of watch. Got it. And
watch friends just never have the time. That's funny. Brooke's laughing at me about picking watches over Warhammer or picking Warhammer over watches.
That's fair enough. I mean, at the end of the day, you look at a watch. If it's that nice, you're not going to want to wear it. That's the thing, isn't it?
Oh, that's the difference between me and most watch people. A lot of the watch community, right? They buy a nice watch, they put it in a safe, and they hope it gains value. Me, I just wear it.
Oh.
I've got most of my watches have several, 100 hours of flying in the planes I flew in the Marine Corps. When I climbed Kilimanjaro, I took my nicest watch up Kilimanjaro with me and took a picture of me on Kilimanjaro with it.
She's actually saying
they're meant to be worn.
She wasn't laughing at you. She was laughing at Ryan's puns. Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Please don't.
Combine the two. Do turn clocks have a place in? Scott, stop it. Just stop it.
No, they don't. Maybe they do. I don't know. Depends. I don't really play in the competitive scene. I'm more of a narrative fun guy. Get some pints, roll some dice.
So, do you get, like, obviously, you say you don't like painting. I think Brooke likes her painting and Dombe, well, Bellicor, what she was doing with that. Do you get Brooke to paint your minis, or does she just say, no, you're painting your own?
So for the first time ever, actually, she's painting up some Gisterans for me right now. So they're on the desk back there. Yeah. So she hasn't painted for me in the past, but with the Bellicor and some other things that she said she wanted to paint some Space Marines, and I was like, well, I have some Sons of Horus that I don't particularly want to paint. Would you like to paint them for me? And so she's painting those up. That's kind of her. She's got those and some Delac and some other things on her desk. And I've got a bunch of terrain on my hobby space right now.
And you obviously said that you're a big Necromunda. Both of you are big Necromunda players. You said that your campaign's over. Is a new campaign starting soon?
This weekend, yep.
Oh, cool.
And is it, are your guests having both of you, or are you having to go to someone else's house?
We kind of mix it up, basically. So the first game of the weekend, or the first game of the campaign, they get us all together at someone else's. And then kind of after that, we have a big WhatsApp group. So you just send a message like, hey, I want to play a game on Thursday night. Is anybody free? And get together from there and kind of play it out. Yeah. So I think I don't know if she's decided what she's playing. I'm playing Escher for this one.
Is that because of the you realise after your Palentine's getting massacred, they're just like, actually, chips, whips, yeah, that'll do.
A little bit of that, but also a little bit of I just wanted to see how many Death Maidens I could fit into a 1,000 credit list, and the answer is 3. So my gang is 3 Death Maidens, a Queen, and 5 Juves, and the Juves have no armor. They literally have 1 stiletto dagger each, and so I'm just gonna have 5 Juves running across the board, just soaking up rounds, so the Death Maidens can get into combat.
Me shields, just me shields them. That's what they are.
Exactly.
One of the questions
Gonna
that
be good time.
I love to ask people is, and obviously, Brooke, I think the joke went way over your husband's head. What is your favourite crisp to snack on when you're watching Brooke paint your minis?
Chip. Remember that.
I'm familiar with crisps. It's okay. I'm
Oh,
I'm English or I'm
just make sure.
British at heart, I should say. Have you ever had chips Oman?
Rings a bell.
So they're crisps from Oman. I've never seen them outside of the Middle East, but they've got like a little bit of spice flavor to them. I don't actually know what it's based off of, but they're really good. And they're local, and so chips Oman is my go-to crisp flavor.
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of Chips Ahoy. Completely different. They're not a crisp, they're a bloody cookie.
Yeah.
So, completely wrong. I apologise.
Yes.
I was actually
Absolutely.
watching an episode of Always Sunny today where Charlie and Dee were watching the lawyer, and Charlie was spying through this woman's window, and she'd eaten a whole tube of Chips Ahoy. He's like, a whole sleeve? No, yeah.
I mean,
so when you
can't eat just one.
No, you can't.
well, apparently not. Like it's like Pringles, though. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
anything, like Maryland cookies or anything. Once they're open, that's it.
That's
They're
it.
just gonna shit your name.
Just eat them all. You have to eat the whole
It's
thing.
the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you've ate your chips Oman or chips Ruman, what do you like to wash it down with?
Oh man. I mean, usually afternoon time is kind of whatever beer we have around. It's kind of my go-to. I drink sparkling water and alcohol and coffee.
So when you go back to the UK, or when you go back to the UK, what would be your pint of choice over in the UK?
Oh, pint of choice in the UK. Kind of whatever the local option is. Any of the cask. Like one of my favorite things about the UK is that you have still kind of the cask ales, which are just not very common in the US. So whatever kind of the local cask ale is. I think in London I end up drinking a lot of Fuller's. In Scotland I'm drinking a lot of Belhaven. Kind of whatever is the local favorite.
What is there anything like if you were just going to like central London or Manchester or anything, you go, I could murder a pint of Tennent's or I could murder a pint of Carlin.
I mean, whatever. I've lived in Qatar for 2.5 years. I can murder any pint that they want to pour for me.
And
Please note that is not literally murder. It's not literally murder in case anyone is listening.
you love Brewdog apparently from your better half.
I do enjoy a good BrewDog. That's true. I do. Whenever I see BrewDog, I try to go there. Wife's calling me out on that one, but I'm trying to think. Last time we went to BrewDog was in Glasgow. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do have a big one.
I mean, I like a pint of Tennent's because I'm Scottish, and I think that's what we're raised on. After we go from Mad Dog to Buckfast, and then we go on to Tennent's. But I do like a good pint of Starrow Crammon as well, because that just gets me drunk from the toes up. And then after like 5 pints, you think you're fine, and then your legs don't work. I love that pint.
Yeah.
See, for me, I don't know if I'll make a recommendation there if Dunk's suggesting that. Next time you find yourself in a pub in the UK, see if they do a cider called Aspel on tap. That stuff is lethal. And it's not the alcohol, because it's cider, it's the sugar. The sugar will send you scatty long before the actual alcohol kicks in. And it's good fun. The next morning, not so much. Give it a go.
That's what happens when you have too much sugar. It's like drinking white wine.
Yeah.
I didn't really like wine until I went on holiday to Nerca, and then I was like addicted. I just loved red wine then, but I'm a big spirit man. I like my rums. I like my dark rums as well. Do like a good I like a Mount Gay. Black Label Mount Gay
Yeah.
rum is top tier rum. I do like that. Do any of you lads
I
like
like
any?
wine, champagne, and then whiskey is my go-to when it comes to the harder stuff.
I can't go whiskey. I had a bad night in whiskey when I was like 18, 19, and I just can't. And it pains me. That's why I was kicked out of Scotland. I just can't drink whiskey anymore. I had a bad night. Would you be
It disowned you as a nation.
a single malt man or something more smoky? What would be your whiskey of choice?
Lagavulin is my go-to. So the Isla single malts are generally my favorites.
Good shout.
What were you, Casey?
I once had a girl break up with me because I drank a whole bottle of that 69 at one of her student house parties, and I started a row with one of her best mates and then proceeded to go out into the garden. And I don't have any memory of doing this. I tried to do a barbecue for everyone using a disposable barbecue, and apparently I burnt a hole in their garden on the grass. And then fell asleep in the toilet for 3 hours and no one could find me. How no one thought to check the toilet, because there might have been a bit of a queue, I don't know, but yeah, it didn't. The relationship
multiple
was,
toilets.
it was a student house, so I'm assuming they were just going out in the garden and trying to repair the hole in the grass I just made. But yeah, that relationship was doomed from that night, and it's probably a good thing. I tell myself that, but just ever since then, I don't think I've touched whiskey properly. I dabble with the odd fancy bottle of Jack Daniels to sound posh, but it's Jack Daniels, it don't count.
That's a bourbon. That's different. Like that's not.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why I don't really touch whiskey too much. That was that was a bad night.
So see. Oh, honestly, I can just taste the whiskey in the back of my throat. It's giving me the bulk.
It's so good. It's so good. I need some more of it.
no, I just can't. No, I don't. It's just mad. Like, my son's starting to drink whiskey now and all that. Like, he's 17 now, so like we've always been quite liberal parents. Like, we can, as long as we know what they're doing and they're doing it safely. He was so chuffed with himself though the other week because he thought his fake ID was brilliant until my mate went, "Nah, your fake ID's shite. Tell me what your real date of birth is, or I'll know what you're in." And he went, "Oh, 17. I'm 18 in February." And went, "Right, in you go." So yeah.
Again, we're promoting all sorts of stuff on this stream tonight. You know, dodgy importation, fake IDs, and underage drinking. This one was one for the books.
It's good. It's good.
Do you have any like LVOs or anything like salutes planned for the next year? Do you have any events that you want to go to?
Yeah, so I've got a ticket right now to go to the Solar War, the second one with Heresy Hammer in December. So I'm hoping to be in England in December for that. I think it's the first week of December. Right now, deciding whether I want to take Alpha Legion or Death Guard there, and then planning to go to No Retreat in May and Gibraltar again.
Actually, interesting you brought that up. I did want to come back round to No Retreat because we have had a guest on in the past who sort of mentioned it to us, but that's got to be it's almost extravagant, isn't it? Because from what I understand, it's on a yacht. You go there, you rock up, and it's just a proper special event, isn't it? They really make a fuss of you.
I mean, it was awesome, dude. It was absolutely the guys down there. They do a great job, and it is on a yacht, but it's wild because you have to ask Pardo, to be honest. I don't know, but he's like so plugged into so much in Gibraltar that they're able to really kind of hook up a really good experience. Like you get a tour of like the fortifications of Gibraltar that have been there since the Moors invaded, and it's like Moorish bricks with Spanish bricks with English bricks with World War II bricks, and I mean it's unbelievable. Like the Dolphin tour, they put on a really good show, and it is a top class event. Like absolutely, it was. I mean, yeah. I cannot say enough good things, to be honest, about going down to No Retreat. And I mean, I'd never been to Gibraltar before that either. Like, even if you just go to Gibraltar on a little holiday weekend, like, it was really cool. to go down there and see that and see everything that was there to see.
And I'm going to ask this as someone who's been to Gibraltar, because I think I've seen this on the TV and I think this is the right place. But especially because you're in the airline industry, how does it feel landing on that runway over there? Because it's almost like sea, tiny bit of road, runway, and it just feels like one slight thing and you're either wrecking a load of cars or you're in the water.
So it was actually really funny. So we ended up when we were going to the retreat, we met up with some of the other guys who were coming at Heathrow, and one of the guys' wives who was coming was super nervous about this because she had heard basically what you'd said about that. And so I was a Marine. I flew F-18s, so we flew airplanes that were basically trained to land on boats, right? So somewhat used to the idea of water, 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 runway, water, 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 you know. And it was funny because she was talking about it and she was really worried, and so I just kind of looked it up, you know, online because I didn't really know anything about the runway prior to that, and I was like, oh man, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is. I mean, it's not dodgy by any stretch of the imagination, but this is going to be a fun one, and it's cool though. Like it took me back to some of the other places I've landed in much smaller airplanes, but all those guys obviously know exactly what they're doing, and they had told us when we boarded that like if the winds were bad, we would go land in Malaga, and they were going to give us a bus over. And but I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But yeah, no, you're right. It is absolutely because it's like reclaimed land, so it's they had basically built the runway out of the sea, and I looked it up. I think it was like a 7,000-foot runway, which is short by most airline standards, but it was still awesome. But the crazier thing is that you basically come in, and the rock is right there, right? So you're turning with the rock over here and landing, and there's the rock, and then there's Spain. I don't know. It's really cool.
Yeah, because I think I know it's not equivalent, but I remember flying to Tenerife once, and it's just a volcano on an island, and the whole way down, you're just flying around it. And luckily, I was that side. It's like, okay, I've seen the whole island now. I don't actually have to go down there. Can we just go home? But would you say then, going back to the no retreat stuff, given the sort of I've seen like the standard of the armies that people bring up to it, and it's all very professionally done. Would you say that that's achievable? Like if someone who's just sort of starting out as a hobby, sort of looking at that and thinking that's where I want to end up, how would you sort of say to someone what recommendation, would you give for them to get their feet under the table of it? Because of the exclusivity of it, spaces go really, really quick. What would you sort of say to someone to sort of give them the push to do it?
I mean, one, I would just say do it, right? Like if you have a model that's painted, apply. Pardo may tell you no, right? But if you want after the fact, you can ask him for feedback, and he'll tell you like, hey man, this wasn't up, you know, like for example, I think they probably had like 10 Sons of Horus players apply. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get in with Sons of Horus, you probably need to be better than 10 other people. Whereas if you apply with a less popular Legion, like that might help. But then also, right, and again, I wasn't super familiar with it until I went. There's so many tutorials out there, like Metters Miniatures, is Rob Metters, who I met at this no retreat, puts out a bunch of free tutorials on YouTube that you could go and you can basically watch those, get on Instagram, follow people, learn tricks, figure out ways to kind of cut corners and different things like that. But if you just followed one of Rob's tutorials for how to paint Space Marine for Legion, whatever, your stuff is going to be good enough to get you into no retreat, and then it's a matter of, because the applications, they do a write up, and they try to get some, they want nice people, right? It's 30 people hanging out playing Warhammer on a yacht. You don't want a bunch of, wankers coming down there, who are going to just be twats the whole weekend, basically, I assume, right? And again, I'm no expert, right? Like I don't know exactly how Pardo does his process or whatnot. Maybe I am the twat he invites. I don't know, but it is definitely achievable if it's something you want to do and you dedicate yourself to it and trying to find, those tools and things that are available out there on YouTube and other things like that. Yeah, but I would definitely say like absolutely apply. Like if you don't apply, you're never going to get in. And if you do apply and you don't get in, at the very least, you can send an email to the party. I'll be like, hey man, like I applied with, World Eaters this year. Like I sent you these pictures. Can I get some feedback on why I didn't get in? And like I said, sometimes it may just be that, hey dude, like, sorry, 40 World Eaters players applied and 4 of them have golden demons for their World Eater army. So unless you got a golden demon for your World Eaters, like you're not gonna, I don't know.
Yeah, and obviously as well, when these things start to get traction and become more popular, it is going to be harder to appease everybody as well. I think it's just part and parcel. Because if you look at how from the hobby was back in the 90s to where it is now, it's unrecognisable now, especially with social media, and there's that many tutorials out there now as well, as you're saying, for paint your armies. It's one of the biggest changes in the hobby, would you say, is the amount of things you can find online now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think YouTube is great, and even like stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think about, like battle damage and chipping, right? Like there's hundreds of buy a cheap can of hairspray tutorials, and you can learn how to do battle damage on your Space Marines, or I mean, you name it. There's a tutorial for it, and if you watch it and practice, you can pretty easily. And like you said before, it was like, okay, you're looking at the White Dwarf article, trying to copy this or that, and you read it and hopefully you get what you need. Whereas now you can rewind, fast forward these tutorials over and over again and pick the bits and pieces out that you like and want and go from there.
Yeah.
If there was one bit of advice you could give yourself when you were younger, when you started out, what would it be? In the hobby.
I would probably, yeah. Just in general in life. I wish I had painted more when I was little. I think I liked, again, when I was a kid, I liked just playing more. So once the model was built, I played so many games with the gray models, and I think if I had painted more when I was younger and like developed kind of more of a love for it, I would enjoy it more now. Whereas, like I said, to me, painting more often than not is a chore now that I do to get to play, and it just feels like work, So trying to convince my younger self to enjoy painting as a relaxation or something like that would be what I would want to do.
And what do you do to relax? Because like obviously we all have our wee side hobbies, like as you say, you collect watches, but what do you do to relax for yourself?
I mean, like I said, most of the time I play Necromunda or I play Heresy or, just kind of watch some Netflix, or this week I've been playing Space Marine. I mean, probably the same as everybody for the most part. Drink some beers.
Yeah,
Watch the Arsenal.
I'm still waiting for Casey to send out his Xbox X to me, but it's a bit delayed.
I keep telling you, I haven't got an X. I've got the cheapo rubbish one. I've got the S, which, hasn't got a disk drive on it or anything.
You can still do that. Because I can't play Space Marine 2, because I've only got an Xbox One, because my wife's high maintenance. Do you know what I mean? So she's staring at me. She's staring at me with her crochet needles, threatening to stab me at this point.
I was going to say, one of them's ended up in your bag.
At the high maintenance ladies, and I bought my Xbox before my wife knew what was happening. So
turned up in your house. So, by the way,
yeah, there's an Xbox here. I don't know what's happening with this.
I know. Obviously, because she's quite active on Discord with the Discord channel and our Spotify playlist, which is just mental.
I have to listen to it.
Oh, have you found yourselves fighting over the Xbox to get to Space Marine, or is it a case of like 5 deaths and it's my turn, like you used to do when you were kids?
We did do that some on the first day, where it was like 5 deaths and then handed over, and then it was bad though because we both have our own profile and we want to beat it on our thing, so we were logging in and logging out, and then finally it was just like, you know what, it's okay, I'll play after you go to bed. You just play. I'll go do something else for a little while, and kind of made it from there. So we just deconflict the Xbox time as best we can.
That playlist is just mental.
I've still not.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's crazy, man. You're listening to like Taylor Swift 1 second, and then it's AC/DC, and then it's Lindsey Sterling, and then it's Crazy Frog, and you're trying to like paint a mini, and you're just like, I don't know what's happening right now. It is absolutely bananas.
Crazy Frog, what an annoyance that was 20 years ago. Oh,
My daughter discovered it 2 weeks ago, and so now she wants to dance to Crazy Frog at least 4 times a day.
Oh dear, I feel so sorry for you.
yeah.
I thank you for your sentiment.
But again, you're an Arsenal fan, so you deserve everything.
Yeah, it balances out, doesn't it? Actually, karma.
Well,
Obviously.
how long do you give Arteta before he wins the league? Because I don't think he's winning the league or winning something.
So, if any other manager at any other time had done as well as Arteta has done over the past 4 seasons, and Pep Guardiola wasn't there, nobody would be asking the question you just asked me.
That's a fair point. If Pep wasn't about, I think Liverpool would have won it earlier. Arsenal would probably have won it a lot sooner. It's Pep being Pep and coming in with systems and ruining football for everyone.
I mean, I get it, right? There's trophies. It's important. I'm not trying to say it's not, right? But he's finished second in the league 2 years in a row. Only one team gets a trophy. Are we going to say, like, all right, the other 19 teams, if you don't win the Premiership this year, your manager's getting sacked? Like, here, when United sacks Ten Hag, then you can ask me when Arsenal's going to sack Arteta. I'll make you that deal. I'll come back on the show when United sacks Ten Hag, and then you can ask me when we're going to sack Arteta, and I'll have an answer by then.
We'll do a football special.
But I think it's to do with like trophies. Though, so, like, if you look at it, he's finished second, granted, but it's like fans want an open top bus. They want a parade day. Like West Ham, like they won a European Cup. Like I'm a St Mirren fan, right? We only qualified for the first time this season since 1987. So it was like a great 4 days that we had, 4 games.
Well, it must be nice to qualify for fucking Europe, wankers.
But like, fans want trophies. Do you know what I mean? I remember we played in a cup final against the Huns, and we get beat off by 9 men. It still hurts me to this day. 9 men we get beat by. Oh, but I mean, obviously,
I'm with you, right?
Arteta has done a great job, but then as you've got to beat what's in front of you. Do you know what I mean?
Going back to your question about if I could have any watch I wanted in the world, right? If Arsenal sacked Arteta today and could have any manager other than Pep in the world, who is going to come into Arsenal and do a better job?
Zidane.
This is the thing. This is what we were saying about, me and my mates were saying about Thingy leaving Liverpool. Who's going to be able to come in and take over the reins and do it as well? And then Slot won, 3 games in a row. Everyone's losing their mind. Oh, it's going to be great. We're walking away with it. It's our year again. And then they lose to Forest. Who saw that coming? It's the difficult thing out there at the moment. There's, for as much as like,
I mean, it's the thing. Sorry, it's the thing from the summer, right? Where like every Arsenal fan was screaming to get a proper striker. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, dude. Here's 150 million pounds. Go buy a proper striker.
Yeah,
there just isn't one out there.
No.
Like everybody wants a Holland, but there's only one. Everybody wants Pep, but he's the only one. What are you going to get?
And again, this is something me and my mates talk about all the time. It's like you can lament the death of an old school poacher striker who would just, like a Haaland, be in the right place at the right time, no matter what. But they don't exist. Theo Walcott was saying on Match of the Day 2 the other day about the Villa goal that was scored from outside the box. Absolute screener. John Thuram scored it. And he's just saying, kids are coached at a young age now not to do that sort of stuff, not to be a proper striker, not to, here's a system, this is what you're going to play, your position in this system is this. And it's, in one way, it's killing the game, but in another way, this is what football is now.
Yeah. But I would also say as well, there's too much football. If you look at it, the top tier players don't get a break now. I read an article.
Yeah.
I read an article on X a few weeks ago. When David Beckham was Jude Bellingham's age, he'd only played something like 2,000 minutes worth of football. Jude Bellingham's up to about 15,000 minutes right now. We're burning a lot of players out, and if you look at it, the summer break, the players went away and get rejuvenated. The Euros finished about 2 months ago, and the players had like a week off and then straight back into pre-season. There's just too much football. I mean, I stopped watching the Champions League now because it just seems as though it's just constant.
I mean, right?
Yeah, and then you can
Like
sorry, go
ahead.
on, buddy. No, you're good. Go on.
As an Arsenal fan, right? Like Saka, you know what I mean? Like he plays every minute for England. Like even in this last international break, these matches that I'm pretty sure mean literally nothing, absolutely nothing. He's out there for 90 plus minutes, right? And when it comes to Arsenal, right, we need him to play for 90 minutes every match for us in the Premiership. Like, hopefully he'll get a break for the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup here and there, but he's going to play. You know, he just played 90 minutes against. Well, no, because he came off with a knock in like the 80th minute against Spurs. But he's probably going to play 90 minutes against Atalanta tomorrow, and he's going to play 90 minutes against City if he's available on Sunday.
Yeah,
and then we have Bolton in the Carabao Cup, which hopefully he doesn't have to play, but God forbid, second half and something bad happens and we need him to play that, and he's going to play 90 minutes in the Premiership. And just like you said, I mean, and oh, by the way, he played in every match for England in the Euros and played in every match last year. And like, you know, every Arsenal player's going to church on Sundays praying that Saka has, you know, Wolverine's adamantine skeleton and, you know, the rejuvenation of a space marine when it comes to his muscles and cardio and stuff, you know, like.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing though, isn't it? Like, I know what you were saying about Beckham a minute ago, Dunk, but you consider Beckham at that age to what Bellingham was at the same age, but then also how the sports science, the physios and all of that have come on in the last 10, 20, 30 years. Like, you listen to some things with football and you hear like Tony Adams talking about, oh, we went away on the Friday night and I was in the pub until 2 a.m. and then we went and played football the Saturday. And you're like, this is top Division 1 back in the day. And it was just a laugh and a joke to them almost, wasn't it? You know, they'd go out, get smashed, go play a game of football, go home. But nowadays you can't do that anymore. That's the other thing.
Well, look at Sterling, Gareth Bale, all these players that late 20s, early 30s that they are.
Yeah.
Like, they're all tired, like, because it's just hundreds and hundreds of minutes of football that they're playing. It's just, and then it's the travelling as well. Went to Kazakhstan to go and play in a pointless Europa League nation match, and then coming back and then flying then out to Roma to go and play Italy, and then coming back and going up to Newcastle. Like, it's a lot. They are playing more football, and granted, the science is there, but our bodies haven't adapted to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it has changed. When Wenger came in and changed like the dietary supplements for Arsenal and all that, it was the beginning of it. But like, the players have to be protected. They have to have a break. Because it's like Andy Robertson for Scotland. He plays every single minute. Kieran Tierney is fucked because of injuries, because he played so much football when he was younger at Celtic. Played through injuries. He didn't want to not play, and then went to Arsenal. And his Arsenal career was a disaster because he got a bad injury. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. But they, like, for better or worse, until you find a way to convince the people who are trying to make money off of it that there's other way. Like, I mean, right? It's the same reason that we keep getting more Space Marine lieutenants. You know, like GW just wants to make money, and for whatever reason, Primaris lieutenants will sell into perpetuity. You know, so when we as a community are asking for other things. You know, I mean, we talk about it on the heresy side a lot. Like, hey, can we get the rest of the troops choices in plastic? Like, hey, we want breachers. We want, you know, we just got assault marines, but like breachers, despoilers, different things like that. And it's like, no, but here's more plastic tanks on our roadmap for the next year. And you're just like, okay, I guess if that's what makes you money.
Yeah, but I mean, just touching on that, like, I'm collecting Grey Knights now. I would like to see updated Grey Knights. Do you know what I mean?
You ain't getting them
I
ever.
know.
Enjoy your tiny minis compared to everyone else's.
I know. But it's like yeah, you are looking like there is other factions out there that just aren't Space Marines that people want updated, like Dark Eldar and or Alderi, what they call them now. Like, people do want these updates, and especially the Horus Heresy. I've got a box of Mark III Marines I'm slowly chipping my way through, and I've got a Praetor and a Councillor. Some of the models are absolutely banging, and I would like to see more Dust Raiders or Death Guard, that kind of coming into it as well. That's, as you say, you want that variety of models, but then your spoiler choice as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a fine balance, you know, like they only have enough factory space or designers or different things to produce this stuff, but there's, especially those of us who've been in the hobby for so long, right? Like the Space Marine is the new fancy thing that pulls people in, but then like those of us who've been around forever, we've got buckets, literally buckets of Space Marines just sitting in a corner that we want nothing to do with. But if they released, you know, a new, you know, something else, you'd be real keen to go get that, you know?
If they were to release a Ferris Manus Primarch for 30k, that would sell. I mean, if you just launched a range of Primarchs for 30k, all the Primarchs, did them all rolled on and
In plastic. Because you've got them in resin, don't forget, but in plastic, I think is what you mean, yeah?
But
Yeah.
if you did them in plastic, I mean, that would...
And even things like, so when they released Fulgrim, right, they announced that there was going to be a Primarch coming, and so the Lorgar Ascendant, or whatever his second form is, and then Jagatai Khan on a bike. There's rules for him, but those two models still don't exist. And they were like, a Primarch's coming, and everybody's like, oh man, it's going to be the Khan on a bike. Like, how cool is that going to be? And it's like, nope, here's Demon Fulgrim. And you're like, I mean, okay, that's cool.
It was still sick.
It's probably the best model Forge World has ever made. It's sick. But can we get Jagatai on a bike? Because that's thematic and cool, you know?
Yeah. And I suppose there's the other things with it, isn't it? You know, you can get a model of Ferris Manus's head that you could stick on something, or you know, just a version of what's his name? Keep coming back from the dead. I can't remember his bloody name now. Salamander's guy. He'll come to me. Vulcan, thank you. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff I think they look at and could do, and they're just sort of like they're timid about it. I don't know why. Maybe, like I say, it's the factory space. Is will people buy it? But you know, there's opportunities is out there, and I don't think they're willing to take it sometimes.
Yes,
I think
that was a question, right?
I mean,
sorry, on you go. I'll ask myself.
I was just gonna say, I think it's interesting too, though, right? Because when you ask the question of like, will people buy it? If you look on their website for all of the heresy stuff, it's all sold out. I mean, yeah, every now and then, but somebody said in one of the WhatsApp groups I'm in a number the other day. I don't remember exactly what it was, but maybe like 70%. Like 70% of the characters, the resin, you know, the individual Legion units, like anything you want when you build a heresy army other than tactical Marines and tanks is sold out. And it's like, guys, like, if this isn't telling you that people want to buy the stuff, like, I don't know what will, you know?
That's a good point.
So my silly question, right? You've got to think out the box here a wee bit. You run Alpha Legion. Is there any rule against just saying that every single one of your Marines is Alpharius?
No, they all are Alpharius.
What's that special? You said that was Alpharius. I bet that wasn't really Alpharius. This guy's Alpharius.
There was somebody who posted, I wish I knew who it was, but they ordered like the little nameplates from Versatile Terrain for their whole Alpha Legion army, and it was like all of them said Alpharius, and one of them was like, I am Alpharius. No, I am Alpharius. no, this guy's Alfarius, and had like nameplates for his whole army where they were all Alfarius.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I saw that one. I thought that was pretty cool, actually. Thematically, it fits. Spot on.
And I think he had one guy who said Omegon on it.
Yeah.
And then somebody else saying, "God damn it, Carl."
Yeah, right.
Guys, I think it's time I think I'm going to wrap it up there because I think I'm going to get a text message soon because my son's working, and God, heaven forbid that he walks home from work. For people that don't follow you already or know where you are, anybody want to give a shout out and time to promote yourself?
I'll say thanks to the Real Housewife of the Underhive for supporting me, and all that stuff. If she's still on here, she's probably asleep with the kid. But otherwise, I'm berserker4apothcaries. If anybody has any questions for me, feel free to reach out on Instagram. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can.
Cool.
Casey, any final words of wisdom?
Oh, come on. I never have any words of wisdom. Just thank you for coming on, Ben. Great chatting to you.
Thanks for having me.
And I think we should get you back on at some point after your tournaments and see how you got on.
Sounds great to me.
Maybe have both these instead of one of these.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
Again, thanks very much for coming on tonight. This will be put on our YouTube channel in the next few days. Next week, we have Mediocre Minis, who is a miniature painter. Pretty sure he worked for Games Workshop, either in a shop or over in Nottingham. He's also a Twitch streamer, and he is on next week. He's from Ireland as well, so somebody from the Emerald Isle. Folks, see you next week. Same bat time, same bat place. Remember, God protect Mortarion.
Bye-bye.